Hey everyone, it's JT from Work It Daily, and welcome to our webinar, Laid Off and Looking. I'm here with fellow career coach and my partner in crime, Ariella. Ariella, say hi.
Hi, everyone.
We are really excited to be here with you today to talk about strategy that you can use to get more efficient and be more impactful in your job search, especially if you've been recently laid off. So let's get right down to it. We don't want to waste any time. We want to get straight into it with you all today because this is your opportunity to think more strategically so that you can work smarter, not harder. All right. So we want to make sure that you're doing that and that you're good to go. So I cannot wait to get started because I am in charge of the slides here today. So this should be quite a production watching me go through these. So bear with me. What I want to tell you first is what you're going to learn. Get ready. And that is why applying online right now isn't going to work for you. Okay, you need to understand that. Less than 3% of people that apply online right now ever hear back, and that's going to get even less given what's happened. How most people are using the spray and pray method to apply to job search, and why that is another reason that you're failing at job search and you will definitely not get the results you're looking for in these current economic times. Why job seekers are unknowingly looking really desperate when they're job seeking, specifically when they're networking. So how to avoid that piece and how to build a strategy that will actually get you a job. So we're going to go over all of that today so that you can feel a lot more confident as you move forward in your job search. And what I want to do is talk to you about the things that don't work and how you can prepare. But before we do that, Ariel is going to tell you how to get the very most out of today's session.
Yes, so just a reminder, everybody, make sure that you have downloaded or printed off the PDF that we shared with you. You should have gotten an email. I believe there's a link as well in the chat, hopefully. And so you can follow along with what we're going through today. We're actually going through the first half of this PDF today. Also, just make sure that you're shutting everything down, closing your tabs, turning off your email, getting rid of the music, just so you can focus all of your energy and attention on today's session. We're going to be covering a lot of stuff, and you want to make sure that you're getting the most out of this. This is a crazy time, and it's important to think about how you can be intentional with your time and strategy and figuring out how you can move forward effectively. So we're here to help you guys with that. So with all that said, let's introduce ourselves. So JT.
Absolutely. So for those of you that have never met me before, my name is JT O'Donnell. I'm the founder and CEO of Work It Daily, and I'm also the head coach of the executive coaching practice here on our platform. So I have been in this industry for many years. I was in staffing and recruiting, and back in 2002, I decided to become a career coach. I wanted to flip to the other side. And that's because after being in HR and recruiting for many years, I realized that school had taught us everything except how to get the job and build satisfying career paths. And I wanted to change that. Fast forward to 2008 and the recession, and I knew that we had to do career coaching differently. And so that's when I started the company and said, my mission is to drop the geographic and the financial barriers to great career coaching. What I realized is that only pro athletes and executives were getting access to coaching because coaches were charging hundreds, sometimes thousands of dollars for their advice. And I just thought that was plain wrong, especially as I watched millions of people in the last recession struggle to get the help they needed. Fast forward to today, and we now have the #1 online career growth platform. We're the only online career coaching service where they provide you one-to-one access, and we are also the only one to have our very own phone app. And I just want to take a quick moment to shout out to my entire team because we would not be here today without them. I feel so lucky to be in the position to have a company right now that can help millions of people with these sorts of things in an affordable and timely manner. That was the goal, to disrupt the industry. We've done that. And it feels amazing to be here with all of you today and know that we're able to help. And you should also know, I'm going to pass it over again to Ariella, who's been with me for 8 years now. We were just saying before we went live on this that we can't believe we've been here 8 years together. But let her share a little bit more about her background at the company.
Awesome. Thanks, JT. So yes, as JT said, I've been here for a little bit. I've been trained by JT on this whole methodology that she's teaching inside Work It Daily. I've worked with thousands of clients here, train our coaching team, and I've been here since the creation of this, essentially, which is really exciting to see how everything has changed and how we've grown. And I'm acutely aware of everything that's going on and what people are going through in terms of their job searches, especially right now. And I personally was very lucky to have found my passion for, what I do in my profession, my work, very early in my career. So once I joined here, I just, became obsessed with career development, coaching, job search strategy, and I geek out on it. So this is stuff that I love doing. I love teaching. I love helping other people kind of find, those jobs that are meaningful and, they find their purpose in their life and career. So it's a really rewarding experience, and I love being able to work with our clients every single day. It's great.
So let's get into, I said to you, we're going to talk about how to get the most out of your strategy for your job search. But let's start with where you are today, because the first thing that you need to do is gain perspective. So everyone here right now, let's get you involved in this conversation. Tell me 1 for 4, 2 for 4, 3 for 4, or 4 for 4 when it comes to these things. Are you laid off? Have you been fired or furloughed? Are you scared about how you're going to find your next job? Are you fearful about your financial future? And are you struggling to get noticed by employers? So right now, everybody throw it into the chat. Are you 1 for 4, 2 for 4, 3 for 4, 4 for 4? And that will really give you a sense of if you are the right person to be here today. Because if you answer yes to even one of these, you're in the right spot. I guarantee you, you're going to get some really powerful information. On the flip side, and I'm going to pass it to Ariella, there's also some signs that you are going about this all the wrong way. So Ariella, take it away.
Yeah, so if you've been spending hours on your job search, each week on job boards, if you're sending out hundreds of applications and not hearing anything back, if you're continually getting rejected for opportunities or not even hearing back from employers, those are all signs that we need to take a good hard look at your strategy and make sure that you're focusing on the right areas, and really figure out what needs to be changed and how can you be as intentional as possible with your efforts so you can streamline your search and find those opportunities better and more effectively.
Absolutely. And so you heard Ariella and I both mention this concept of strategy. So if you haven't already, again, we're going to remind you, download the PDF that came with this webinar. We are going to be covering part 1 today, which is the first half. There's 2 components to a successful job search, particularly in times like this: strategy and tactics. Strategy is your foundation, and it is absolutely vital that you have a solid strategy. That's why you're wasting your time. That's why you're spinning your wheels. It is likely because you don't have the right strategy in place, and therefore you've got the wrong tactics. So where did I get this? How do I know this to be true? Well, my Work It Daily members, shout out to all of you out there, in my book, which when you join our program and you have membership, you have access to the book. My entire career coaching practice, I've been in practice since 2002, is based on something called the GLOW method. And it's a 4-step process that helps people really take a logical approach to any career problem they're having, but specifically job search. And it's pretty straightforward. You gain perspective, illuminate the goal, own your actions, and work it daily. So it shouldn't be surprising to you that the 4th step is literally the name of our company, because we know if you get all the way to that step and you don't work it daily, you're not going to get the results. So what we're going to do today is talk about using the GLOW method, specifically the G part of it, in order to be more strategic in your job search. Ariella, why don't you break down for them what we're going to do?
Yes, definitely. So we're just going to dive into some of the smaller but more impactful activities that you should be doing in order to set yourself up for success when it comes to your job search and bouncing back after being let go from an opportunity. These seem like little habits or little activities, but they really do make a huge difference in terms of your overall success, because you're being very, again, intentional with your time, your efforts, and again, your strategy is more cohesive as a whole.
Absolutely. So let's start with that. We're going to get right into number 1, and that's understanding the difference between strategies and tactics. Now, Ariella said something very powerful just now. She talked about the little things. What we're going to do today is the mindset, the work that you need to do to clear your brain and gain that perspective. So you have to have a baseline knowledge of understanding of where you are. So there's this model called competencies, and I probably should have had a screenshot of it for you. There's 4 stages of competence. If you want to be really competent in anything like job search, first you go through being unconsciously incompetent. You don't know what you don't know. And a lot of us are sitting there right now. You're spinning your wheels. Like she said, you're spraying and praying, applying online, nothing's working. What you don't know right now is what's hurting you. The next stage is to be consciously incompetent, is to have the aha moment that something's not working here and I need some new perspective. Then you go to consciously competent, meaning you get to a place where you know that you're doing the right things and you're seeing the kind of results you want. And eventually you end up in unconsciously competent, which means you've upskilled. Okay. So this is the process that we take all of our Work It Daily members through, right? We get them to unconscious competence. But to do that, I have to make you more fully aware. So Ariella and myself and all of the coaches in our team have to make you understand the differences between things like strategy and tactics. So let's talk about that. The difference between strategy and tactics is strategy is you understanding what you have and don't have. What are your skills? What are your abilities? These various things that you need to know about so that you can narrow in your search, so that you can get really clear about what you're going to put on your resume, your LinkedIn profile, your cover letter, what companies you're going to target to work for, what you're going to say in your interviews, how you're going to build out your networking. You can't do any of those things. Those are all tactics, right? You can't do any of those without the right strategy to narrow you in. And let me give you a quick example. We have people come in and say, I just need my resume done. My resume is not working. Well, when we look at the resume, they're right. There's a lot wrong with the resume. But part of the problem is they don't have the right things on the resume. And so it isn't until we walk them through the strategy part, which you're all going to go through today, for them to realize, oh my gosh, I am not branding myself correctly on this resume. It has nothing to do with the font or the formatting, which still needs to be improved. It has everything to do with what I'm saying about myself on this thing, which I didn't know until I went through the strategy part. So make no mistake, folks, if you've ever thought you've ever heard measure twice, cut once, there's all these little analogies. This is what I'm talking about, strategy and then tactics, right? Now, this becomes 10 times more important when you've been let go. When you're between jobs, all of a sudden, there's a spotlight shined on you. I'm going to give it to you straight. There are studies that show that when you're between jobs, companies want to know why. They're going to grill you a little bit more. Why were you let go? Why were you part of the layoffs? Why were you part of the restructuring? And that hurts to hear, and I know it does. But I'm also here to tell you that when you've worked through strategy, you make peace with all of that. And you know exactly what to say and how to present yourself with confidence so that when you give them the answer, they go, that sounds sound, and they move on. So this is, again, a really important part of the process. And Ariella is going to walk you through some examples just to drive that home.
Yes, definitely. So when it comes to the difference here, so strategy is kind of like your overall like roadmap, right? You need to be able to set the foundation in place before you can actually start doing stuff. Because if you just go out and do it, like JT was saying, you're only going to get so far, and you might just waste some time while you're doing that. But the other thing that you need to be thinking about is, like JT said as well, is you have to be able to understand what's happening in order to ease potential employers' concerns about you. So if you're going into it, again, very intentionally, you're having the great strategy, whereas, you're identifying key skills, you're making a list of companies. We're going to go all over that stuff later. But this is really key in order to figure out what tactics you need to be focusing on next. They really work together. So strategies is your overall kind of foundation. Tactics is, like writing resumes, creating cover letters, doing your LinkedIn profile, all that stuff. Those are the little things that move the needle. But in order to get there, you have to figure out what's that strategy look like.
Excellent. All right. So hopefully everybody's got their PDFs out now and they're following along and they're starting to jot notes down. I would advise you, once you're done this session today, to again sit and look at these and give them the time they deserve. I promise you, every day in Work It Daily, it is the people that spend the time on the strategy that get the best results. So let's talk about step number 2. This is huge. Identifying your fears. And people say, JT, why are we bothering with this? Because, folks, these are the roadblocks. Your mental attitude towards your situation is literally dictating how successful you'll be. Earlier this week, we did a live stream on the 5 stages of career grief, right? And all of us are going to go through this, especially if you've been laid off. There's denial. Oh, everything will be okay. There's anger. Why is this happening to me? It's not my fault. I did what they told me to do. There's bargaining. Oh my gosh, now I'm scared. Just tell me what to do and I'll do it. There's depression. I feel hopeless. I feel helpless. This is my fault. I can't get out of it. And there's acceptance. Okay, I'm owning what's happening. It's not my fault, but I need to move forward today. I need to make choices. All of the fear that you have right now is stopping you from getting through those stages and getting to the right mindset. So I want everyone right now, if you got a pen or a pencil, whatever you're doing, Think about this right now at the top of your head, but promise me you'll also come back and spend a good 30 minutes brain dumping on this concept. What's been holding you back in your job search? Why are you not looking? What scares you about job search? Let's just own up to that, right? It is not everybody's favorite thing to do until you come inside Work It Daily. I'm not kidding. But most people have been taught to hate job search, to fear job search. They're scared of it. Are you even happy with your current career path? Is it time to maybe consider a change? Is this right now? We're going through such dramatic times. This might be the time for your career pivot. But you don't know that if you don't step back and ask yourself, do I really love what I do? Right? And what do you want out of your next job? What are you going to need out of your next job? What are the difference between your needs and your wants? Those sorts of things all need to get out of your head. They're all swirling around up there, distracting you. You need to get them out of your head onto a piece of paper so that you can address them. Because until you work through them and get them behind you and feel more in control, you will not be able to make the things happen that you want to make happen. I'm telling you right now, employers can smell it on you. They can feel it on you. If you are not truly confident in who you are and what you're about, any sense of fear, and they can tell, and that works against you in the job search. So let's talk about some examples, Ariella, that you've seen, because you've worked with thousands of our clients.
Definitely. These are some things that I see all the time when people come into our portal and they are laid off, they've been let go, and they're not sure how to bounce back necessarily. So I'm all running things like, I'm afraid to get rejected because I was let go, so why should I even bother? I'm scared that I'm going to choose the wrong path and mess it up again. Or I'm worried I'm going to find something and completely hate it. So these are just a few of those fears that people are feeling when they are, trying to get back on their feet. And it's really important, as JT said, to put a name to these fears, because if you can't identify them, if you can't get them on paper, and then you're asked about them, it's going to be really hard for you to address them when an employer is questioning them. So you need to be able to identify what these fears look like, get them on paper, so that way you can figure out what that strategy looks like, so you can move past them effectively and make sure that you are addressing those concerns before you're even asked. Because one of the biggest things that I get inside coaching, inside Work It Daily is, what if I'm asked a question that I can't answer, or it's really uncomfortable or tricky? How do I address it? This is a great way for you to prepare yourself for these inevitable questions that are uncomfortable and tricky. Because the more that you can essentially put it all out there for yourself, the better you can prepare yourself for these types of situations, because they will happen.
I totally agree with you. What we're basically telling you to do is make a checklist of the stuff that you need to work through. Because if you can articulate a fear, folks, you can beat it. It's actually the stuff that you can't even formulate in your mind that usually hits you upside the head. So how about we get that list out of your head and start working on everything on it? I'm going to challenge everybody right now that's attending. Seriously, what's your number one biggest fear? Put it in the chat right now. Own it, say it out loud, and then I want you to say, wherever you are, I am going to work through that. I am going to find something to help me fight against that and beat that. That's taking control. Because if you just say that I'm afraid and I don't follow up with, and now I'm going to figure out a way to overdo it, you're a victim. But the moment you say, and I will prevail, and I will find a way, now you just became the superhero of your story. And that's the thing, folks. We all need to be the hero of our own career stories. Nobody's going to do it for us. So everyone own a fear right now. And then I want you to say, and I'm going to beat it. I'm going to go find my solution, right? And we're certainly going to try to help you with more of that today.
There's this idea that in portraiture, it's the photographer's job to set the subject at ease. I don't believe that. Robert Penn Warren was writing about dying and death, and I just asked him to take his shirt off, but it was more like I wanted to see his skeleton. He didn't have any garb.
Determine who you are as a professional. Now, this is a very big and meaty section, understanding who you are as a professional. To give you an idea, when I started private practice, I would meet with people one-on-one, and I found myself asking them a lot of questions, and it took me a while to get to know someone. So I'm an engineer by degree, which means I'm a total nerd on process. And I was completely frustrated with how much time it was taking me to get to know a client. I said, it's a waste of their time, it's a waste of my time, it's a waste of their money, right? So I started building these assessment tools. And by the time I was done, I had these 7 assessment tools that if somebody was going to work with me, I sent it to them. They filled them all out. They sent it back to me. Our calls were so much more productive because I understood them, right? We now actually have that entire thing inside Work It Daily. It's called the Professional Strengths Assessment. And I love doing them, and I know the coaches love doing them, because when someone takes the time to do them and sends them to the coach now has all this intimate knowledge about who they are and their unique combination of skills. Not everybody can do that. I get it. Not everybody may feel they have time to do 7 assessment tools. I'll tell you, it's awesome though. But today we're going to talk about 2 of them that are completely free on Work It Daily, because these 2 are, I would say, our most popular, and in my opinion, have the most immediate impact on you. Now listen, assessment tools are not labels. It doesn't mean that you're that the rest of your life. They are just, again, baseline state of knowledge about how you're being seen in the working world. And I talked about gaining perspective, right? The first step in the GLOW method. Knowing yourself is one of the most important parts. So first of all, you need to know we have something called the career decoder. You need to know how you create value. How do you save or make a company money? How do they justify paying for you, right? You also need to know your communication style. How do people see you in the workplace? When they approach you, how are they interpreting you as a person, right? There are 4 main styles, and you need to understand the strengths and weaknesses of each one. And then when you know just these 2 things, you immediately can improve your job search. Because first of all, you're going to be able to know what kinds of jobs to look for, but also you're going to know how to present yourself and how people are seeing you when you're interviewing, networking, etc. So these are the kinds of things that are so deeply powerful that nobody should be skipping right now. Do not jump into a job search without knowing these things about you, because this is your brand. This is how you're perceived. So let's talk about that for a little bit. Just so you know, there are 8 personas. There is super connector, educator, researcher, optimizer, mentor, visionary, warrior, and super connector, I think I mentioned as well, right? Builder. Actually, I mentioned builder. So there are 8 of them, and most of them are predominant. We all have 2 or 3 that are our predominant styles. And then with communication styles, there's energizer, empathizer, commander, and contemplator, and we're all dominant in one of those styles. Just knowing your combination of those is going to be extremely powerful. Ariella, I know you do a ton of work with these all the time, as do I in the platform. So walk them through this example you have and why it's so important.
Yes, absolutely. So one thing that we get all the time when you take these quizzes is, is this something that I should be putting in my profile? Is it a skill set? What is it? It's actually just, like JT said, like a way to identify how you're adding value and what your natural strengths are. So it will set yourself up for opportunities that will allow you to thrive. So for example here, if you are your primary trait is a super connector, your natural strength is connecting with people, you're a people person, you love interacting with others. And so you want to find opportunities that will allow you to do that. If you're sitting behind a computer all day and you're not actually interacting with, the world or other people, you're probably not going to be as happy as you would be if you were, interacting with people daily, whether it's customer service, sales, doing something along those lines. So that way you're naturally doing what you're good at, and you're going to feel more satisfied, happier, and you're going to deliver more value because you understand how you naturally add value, right? So it's important to take a look at, what are those top traits that you have? What are those top personas and natural strengths? And identify what kinds of opportunities will allow you to use those strengths, because that's where you're going to find your happiness, your satisfaction, because you're doing something that you're already good at. And I would love to know, I'm sure JT, you do too, is if you guys have taken this quiz, let us know what your top trait is in the chat. I would love to know, are you a super connector? Are you primarily an optimizer or builder? I'd love to learn more about that as well.
Absolutely. Again, the quizzes are totally free to take over at daily.com/resources. So folks, feel free to take them. They're very easy to take. You'll get your results, but you'll just also get a lot of information on how to leverage these things. And again, we keep talking to you. Strategy is about perspective, understanding yourself, understanding what's going on so that you can make smart, informed choices as you execute on your job search. And this is gold. I mean, we built the quiz back in 2015. We've already had over 100,000 people take the quiz. And I've had psychologists tell us it's deadly accurate. Same with the communication style quiz. So it's so worth it for you to do that. If nothing else from this webinar, I hope everybody goes and does that because it will really help you. All right, let's talk about, speaking of which, communication styles. Let's talk about one like the commander, Ariella.
Yes. So if you take the quiz and you find yourself, for example, a commander is your primary communication style. So you rely a lot on fact and experience, and you don't really show emotion when you're talking to others. And you make decisions quickly because you don't want to waste time. You're very efficient with your time. So those are some of the pros to this type of communication style. Every communication style has pros and cons, and it's important to understand both so that way you can market yourself effectively when you're talking to a potential employer, a new coworker. You're trying to improve your performance at work. It comes into play everywhere. So a commander is very efficient. That's a pro. But commanders can often be seen as being a little bit pushy and emotionless. So that can, hurt your perception or what other people think about you or say about you in the workplace. So you need to be able to understand that in order to address it and figure out how you're going to change that perception. We say all the time here at Work Daily, brand or be branded. So if you're not controlling or, trying to focus on how you're being perceived by others in a negative way and then trying to figure out how you can make that a positive thing, then it's going to hurt you whether you're looking for a job, you're in a job, you want to do something else. Your communication style plays into all of these different aspects, and being able to, again, understand the pros and cons will help you manage your brand and control your brand and what people are saying about you and how they interact with you at work. And it's also going to help in terms of answering those behavioral interview questions, because if you understand your style and how you interact with people and how you come out of situations that are a little bit tricky, you're going to be able to answer those questions that are trying to dig a little bit deeper in terms of your soft skills, your communication skills. It's going to just help you answer those more effectively and show them that you do in fact understand how you add value and communicate with others in the workplace. And it's going to help you market yourself.
Most definitely. Yeah, it's super powerful. These are probably the two most powerful tools in all of the assessments that we have, for sure. Okay, let's move on. Let's look at number 4, clarifying your specialty or niche. So this is another thing that is so important. Employers want specialist folks. Think about it. I always use like a physician's analogy. So if you needed a heart surgery, you would want a heart surgeon. You wouldn't just want a general medicine person who did not have experience with that kind of surgery like a heart surgeon does, right? When a company's in pain, they hire somebody to alleviate that pain or solve that problem. So if there's a specialist, if you can position yourself as somebody who's really good at that, you are going to be seen as more valuable. So you have to choose a niche. Studies also show that when you present yourself as having strength in a niche, you establish credibility, which then means they assume you'll be good at other things too. So some people say, but I do lots of different things. Yes, I know. But until you prove you're good at one thing and you earn respect and credibility for doing that well, they're not going to believe you can do other things well. When you sit there and say, I'm a Jack or Jill of all trades, you're basically saying, I can do anything. Nobody believes that. You need to build a foundation based on a specialty first. That's how you earn respect and trust. And that's how they'll believe that you can do other things, right? So one thing you have to do is write that out. How do you bring value to an organization? How do they justify hiring you? And we tell people this all the time. It costs about 130 to 140% of your actual salary to hire you. There are taxes, there's overhead costs, there's training costs. So if you can't say, this is how I save or make money, and can't prove it, that is a huge issue. You're just not delivering brand value. And I know that sounds silly, but remember, you're a business of one. You're a service provider marketing yourself to an employer. So if you want to stand out and be seen as the best one, you have to show the most ROI, called return on investment. And that's why you have to go through this and really hone in on this stuff so that you can talk about it in the interview, put it on your resume, put it on your LinkedIn profile. Find the companies that you know will most value this. This is what we mean about the strategy of a niche in order to execute more effectively. And I know Ariella's got a beautiful example in this because she's going to talk to you about something called a personal branding statement and why those are so important today.
Yes, absolutely. This is the number one thing that I focus on with clients and members inside Work It Daily is because you need to understand how you add value and then, be able to articulate that in a specific yet concise way. So we help people develop these personal branding statements. And as you can see, it's relatively short, but it's very specific in this example. And what you want to articulate when you're asked, tell me about yourself, or, when someone, when you introduce yourself to someone at a networking event or whoever it is, you want to be able to explain, what do you do? AKA, what is your specialty or niche? How do you do it? AKA, what are those specific, skill sets you use in order to do this better than anyone else? And then what do you want to do next? Show them that you're being intentional with your opportunities and how you're, going after these particular roles. So for this example here, it's, as a digital marketing strategist, I help companies sell products to their ideal customers by building targeted online marketing strategies like retargeting, social media advertising, email marketing. In the future, I'd like to bring my skills and expertise to an organization that primarily focuses on the clothing industry, since I'm also passionate about fashion and style. See how this is very quick but specific. I know exactly what this person does, how they add value, and that gives me confidence that they're going to come into this opportunity, knowing exactly how to deliver, what they need to be doing, where they need to be focusing. So I'm gaining confidence in them right off the bat because they've clarified that specialty for me. They know exactly how they're going to fit into, the company and add value and impact the bottom line in a positive way. And, it's really powerful, in just a few sentences, you can really demonstrate how you're going to fit into an organization, how you're going to start saving or making the company money, as JT said. And, it's just a great marketing and branding tool that you should have in your pocket, in terms of marketing that specialty or niche. It's very important to avoid, just being broad, like JT said, and marketing yourself as a jack or Jill of all trades, because as an employer or as somebody that you're meeting at a networking event, I'm not going to know how you add value. I'm not going to understand how to articulate that to my boss or to my coworker. And I'm probably not going to remember what you do because you don't really tell me exactly what that niche is. So it's really important to take the time to develop this and distill everything down and get really clear on the opportunities that, fit this specialty.
Yeah. So I can't say it enough either. In fact, when we're done this call, Ariella is jumping off and going right into our Work It Daily platform to host something called Network Masters, which is a take on Toastmasters. This is how important this is. We have our clients do this, and then they come to this private group and they present their branding statement to our members. Nice, safe community. It's not on Facebook or LinkedIn or anywhere. It's just inside private, but it gives them a chance to see how it lands. And people are able to tell them, yeah, this is memorable, or, oh no, work on it here. They get that feedback because this is how important it is. Folks, your network is your net worth. 80% of all jobs today are gotten via some form of a referral. Somebody who knows somebody who gets your foot in the door. This is only going to increase. So when you go somewhere and just say, oh, I'm a digital marketing strategist, wasted opportunity. They are not going to remember you. But when you do something like this, now it's back in their mind. And when they hear about an opportunity, they go, who do I know that does that? Oh, who explained how they do that and why they're good at it and what they're passionate about, right? This is branding at its most critical. And you cannot start a job search without something like this. So if you haven't done this piece of it, make sure that you do. I'm going to throw it in the chat for everybody right now. Everyone come clean. How many of you have a killer branding statement? Do you think you do? If not, I want to hear in the chat that everyone's going to commit to work on that because this is a key part of the puzzle. All right, moving on to number 5, identifying your transferable skills. Another huge area. You should not move forward in your tactics of your job search without this. This is the skills that you have that are going to create that value that we just talked about, right? You have to list them out, and the way you know that they are actually transferable and therefore the skills you should market is that you can quantify them. And Ariella is going to talk about that in a second. You've got to list out all of your transferable skills and optimize them for the kind of job you want. Going back to the fact that you have a lot of skills, we know you do, Jack or Jill of all trades, you can't list all of them. You have to dial in and tell the recruiter and the hiring manager what 10 or 12 key transferable skills you use collectively to deliver value. That's how they know that you know your stuff. Because if you can list those out and validate them through quantifiable accomplishments, it shows how much you've studied yourself and know how to bring value. Without it, it means you're not self-aware and you're probably not going to be able to be as effective as others could be on the job. So Ariella, let's talk about that because you've put up some examples of what actual transferable skills look like. Prove to everybody with these examples that they're transferable.
Absolutely. So for these skill sets, you can tell that they're transferable because you can quantify all of them. So for example, I've worked with thousands of customers. I have spoken at like 200 events. I've managed 25 projects in the last 2 years. You can see how these really emphasize that you've done the work, you have depth in these skill sets, and you can quantify them to show that you've added value in these areas. And if you're, on the fence about what kinds of skills you should be listing or what's transferable, if you're listing things like hardworking, think about that. You can't really quantify that. That's more of a soft skill. It's a character trait, and it's not really quantifiable. That's something that you have to demonstrate when you're interacting with somebody, when you're in an interview, when you're talking with somebody, or when you're actually working on a project. It's a lot harder to quantify something like that. So you want to focus on the things that you can quantify because they're going to show the employer that you do have this depth of experience in these areas and that these skill sets can, in fact, transfer over into this new opportunity that you're pursuing. It's really important. This is a huge thing that we coach on inside Work It Daily because it's so critical.
It is. It's one of the biggest mistakes people make on their resume, right? On their resume and their LinkedIn profile, like you said, hardworking, team approach, or like they just put all these random things in there. And the problem is recruiters are super snarky folks. So they see that and they go, oh yeah, says who? Because it's not quantifiable. It's an opinion of yourself. Soft skills are an opinion of yourself. And as Ariella pointed out, they come out in the interview, in the conversations, in the networking. They're not something you put on your LinkedIn profile, your resume, etc. So that's why you have to do the due diligence now and get really clear on your quantifiable, transferable skills. All right, let's look at number 6 because we're going to go through that and then we're going to be taking some questions, which I'm really excited about. Number 6 is creating an interview bucket list. So once you've started to figure all these things out about yourself, folks, it's going to start to come into view about what kinds of companies you want to work for. Now, this is something that no one else teaches. I will tell you right now, I am proud to say that we were one of the first organizations to teach people how to go job shopping, or I should say employer shopping. It is a game changer. When you do your homework and identify 10 to 15 companies that you feel connected to, you're starting to understand how your brand is attracted. And that way you can improve the chances that you find the right employers and get hired because you're going to do a better job in the interview process because you've self-selected, so to speak, right? So you've got to research companies and say, what do I respect about them? What do I admire? And it's not that you heard they're a great place to work. That's not it. I'm talking about, do you like their product? Do you like their service? Do you like the customers they serve? Do you like their values, their beliefs, their design, their execution? What is it about them that you know is different, special, better, faster, cheaper? And then you have to step back and ask yourself, why am I attracted to that? Because no two people on this call today have the same companies on their bucket list. I'm going to prove that right now. Everybody right now, think of one company that you really admire and love, their product, their service, and I want you to put it in there and I want you to tell me what you love about them. And we are not going to see all the same companies. We might see some duplicates, but all of you have different desires, passions, interests, different life experiences, different work experiences. Those things shape what you're attracted to in an employer. They shape what you would feel satisfied working for. And that's why it's such a beautiful thing because no two people have the same bucket list. But putting a bucket list together is what helps you look for patterns in the kinds of things you're interested in, which then helps you find more companies that have the qualities that you're looking for so that you can then research them and follow them. And when they offer jobs, dive in and tell a super compelling story about why you would be a good employee for them. Because that's what they need to hear. Everyone says that they want to work for them. You don't tell them that you want to work for them because you are their great benefits. They already know that. You tell them why you feel deeply connected to who they are, okay? So how do you find those companies? Ariella's got some examples for you.
Yes, definitely. So if you're having a hard time figuring out where are these companies and what if I don't know where to look or like what kinds of companies I'm interested in, just go and take a drive around town, see what's out there. You drive past buildings every single day and not notice what's actually in them until you open your eyes to them. So take a drive around town, visit your local chamber of commerce, go to your LinkedIn network, see where your local connections work, because that can also help you figure out what's available, what's around your area. Also think about, brands, services, products. What are you already a customer of? What are the brands that you already love? Those are just some ways that you can start identifying and narrowing down what companies resonate with you, or like what kinds of companies you should be exploring. And just quickly, I want to mention how important this is, because if you don't have this connection or some kind of story to connect with this organization that you're pursuing, it's going to be really hard for you to articulate why you should be there, why you're a good fit. So my sister actually was writing a cover letter recently, and she couldn't figure out how to connect with the company, how to convey that this is the opportunity that she really wants, and she'd feel proud to work at this organization. And so I asked her, like, is this really a company that you want to work for? Like, is there any other companies? And she said, well, there's this other company, and these are the reasons why I think it's a great place to work, why it's doing some amazing things, and yada, yada, yada. And she went on and on and on. And I was like, there's a cover letter. That's going to help you connect with these employers, stand out, speak directly to them. And this is just a great example of how your strategy impacts your tactics.
I love that story, because you know what? Your cover letter is a love letter to the employer. And people think, oh, I don't want to look desperate. You don't look desperate. They're going to pay you thousands of dollars. They need to know that you have an internal motivation to go to that job every day and do that work. And they need to know that you're part of their tribe. And I've had people challenge me on using that word tribe, but make no mistake, folks, the kind of companies you want to work at, that's a community of people where you feel like you're part of them. That is a tribe. That is the definition of it. So it is really important that you do this homework and that you identify the companies you want to work for. I also just want to say one more thing. Ariella, how satisfying is it when we're in the platform and a client messages us and goes, I just got an interview with a dream company on my bucket list. Like, there's this sense of control people have when they're picking where they want to work and getting interviews, don't you think?
Absolutely. And we say this all the time. It's job shopping at this point, right? You're shopping for your dream employers and you're controlling the process, which is so key.
Which is why this is why people hate job search. Just, you know, first of all, school taught you everything except how to get the job. So you don't feel equipped to look at job search. And secondly, as a result, you probably haven't conducted job search properly. So that's why you hate it. You don't have to hate job search, folks. You can actually enjoy it and feel empowered. And that's these activities. It starts with strategy. So please, if we've taught you nothing else today, take the time to work on yourself and understand yourself and get these pieces of information together. This is the gain perspective part. It's going to make that whole second part of the checklist that we gave you in the PDF that much easier, and your materials will be far more effective, okay? Awesome. All right. So like I said, part 2 is tactics. So how do you get the tactics? Well, we're going to hit on that for just a second. But in the meantime, I just want to tell you, our team is on right now taking your questions. So if you've got questions, be sure to put them in the chat. We're going to take some of your questions for a few minutes here in just a second. While we're waiting for all those questions to come in, we just want to tell you that if you have liked what you've heard today, hopefully we've proven to you that we know a thing or two about how to run an effective job search, especially if you've been fired or laid off, furloughed, need a change, whatever it is. And we have the program to do it. And so we need to commend you and we need to reward you because you're here. You listened through this whole thing and you understand it. This is one of the biggest hurdles we have. There are so many people out there that are unconsciously incompetent. They're not our audience. People who are self-aware, who now understand this, those are the people we want to work with because they do so well in our program. So what we're doing today is incentivizing you by giving you a big discount on our program. We have monthly subscriptions. You could try us for 1 month and see what you think. We have even bigger, deep discounts on our annual subscriptions, right? And it gives you all of these things. You're going to have access to career coaches. You one-to-one message our career coaches in the app, right? We have our own private app where you can private message. You're going to get resume help, cover letter help, LinkedIn help, interview prep, all of the assessment tools, unlimited networking opportunities. Keep in mind, we have a community in there of people all broken out by industry who are networking with one another. You're going to get personalized support, right? Because you're going to have the coaches. You're going to get 24/7 mobile access. We are the only one with our own phone app. We're going to be, your career coaches are going to be in your back pocket at all times. And you're going to get access to all our courses. We have 15 courses right now, but Ariella and her team create new courses every month. So if every month there's a new live training you can take, or they go on demand, you can take them at your leisure. We are never stopping your learning. We're called Work It Daily for a reason. We want you to always grow in your career so that you stay relevant and that you can avoid some of these issues and challenges. But if they pop up, you've got the right people to help you. So again, we have disrupted the career coaching industry Go check it out. Working with career coaches one-on-one, very expensive, hundreds of dollars just for a single session, and then they're gone. What I figured out and why I'm so passionate about this is that you don't need an hour of our time. Scheduling a time, setting it up, making sure that we coordinate, you don't need that. What you need is maybe 5 or 10 minutes of our time, but you need that several times a day or several times a week or whatever when you're working on it, So the fact that you can do this whenever you want, in your pajamas, wherever you are, and work with coaches as you need them and get that advice, that's the competitive advantage. And that's what I believe everybody needs right now. We all deserve a coach. Coaching isn't a sign of weakness. It is a path to greatness. It's why pro athletes have coaches. It's why executives use performance coaches. And we all should be able to have access to it. And that's why we built this technology. And I'm just so incredibly proud. And anyone that's gotten this far with us in this webinar, you deserve a discount. You deserve to work with us. So there's a discount. You'll get the link, but it's only good for 3 days. And I'm just going to say one thing on that, and then we're going to take your questions. Why only 3 days? Because I need you to capitalize on your momentum. As we talked about, it's very easy for people to say, oh, yeah, I know I need to do this, and then put it on the back burner. And that's fine if you're not ready. But if you are seeing the value in this, I want to capitalize on that. Our coaches want to get you in there and get you going. It is not hours a day. If you can spend 10 minutes a day working it daily, stack that up. 1 month inside our program, can you imagine what you can knock out? Your resume, your LinkedIn profile, your cover letter, all of these things, and know that they're done correctly. We have all sorts of subscriptions in our life. We have Spotify, we have Netflix. These things, we love them because they're affordable and they're there when we need them. That's what we've built. So we want to make that really special for you. And again, you'll have 3 days to make that decision. But I hope you join us because, as you've seen, Ariella and I are super passionate and we want to work with you. And we know we're not for everyone, and that is okay. We've got plenty of free resources too. But for those of you that actually want to work with coaches, this is your way. This is your very, very no risk, easy, positive way to do it. All right. Okay. So enough on that. Now we are going to take your questions, which we're so excited about. So let me bring those up on the screen. Ariella, are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, let's do it. Taylor says, I secured another position, a better role, better pay, better opportunity before being laid off. However, the offer was recently rescinded temporarily due to COVID. Should I hold out for a new start date or not? So Taylor, I would definitely get your job searching gear. The reality is that a lot of these jobs aren't going to come back. So people are being furloughed. Not everyone's going to be asked back. Jobs that are being rescinded, they may not come back. And that's because companies just don't know their fiscal situation yet, and they're going to have to get fiscally stable. So, it's going to be a while to begin with. So my advice is, why would you wait? Why would you waste 3 or 4 months of job search time where you could be, again, building your network and building this up in the event you get another offer? You already found one better offer. Who's to say you wouldn't find another one? And if they come through, fantastic. But I think you would be so disappointed and probably depressed if you just sat around and waited for the 4 months and then it never came back, because you would have wasted 4 months of job search. Do you agree, Ariella?
I absolutely agree with that. You have to control what you can control. And when something is taken away from you, you have to figure out, what can I do right now to make my situation better or to make myself happier, more productive? And setting yourself up for success, especially when it comes to your career, is so critically important, because if you're just waiting around for something to happen, it might not happen. So you have to think about what you can do right now to set yourself up.
I agree. All right, next one I'm giving to you. It's from Hannah. Hannah says, my industry was seriously affected by COVID-19. Should I start looking for another industry to work in?
So I think if your industry is really impacted, think about what other opportunities are out there that might interest you. Like, you might be in a job that can transfer to a variety of industries. So think about what else is interesting to you, what kinds of jobs you would want to consider. Take our Career Decoder quiz. Think about what your natural strengths are and how you can transfer those over into a new opportunity. What do you think, JT?
I completely agree. I've been saying this to our team. Constraint brings about opportunity. If you're seeing the writing on the wall in your industry, this is your chance. Now is the time. Let's figure out a new place for you to go, and let's build a great career story around that. So you can say, hey, when this happened with COVID-19, I saw the writing on the wall. I decided to get in this industry. Here's why I want to go in this direction. Most important thing I will say is that you need to choose a direction. You can't just say I'm open to anything, because that's too wishy-washy. So you're going to want to connect the dots and find your next pivot. But once you do that, the sky's the limit. I agree. All right, next question is from Kristen. Can you help people who are outside the U.S.? Answer in a word, absolutely. We are actually in 16 countries. We have thousands of clients in 16 countries. I will tell you that everything is done in English. So that's the one thing, although we're getting lots of requests to do foreign languages, I'm sure that'll be coming in 2021 and beyond. But for now, we're English-based. We work with people in Europe and Dubai, and our principles are all the same. So while we understand the nuances of different areas, while your CV might be a little different than a resume, say in the US, we can address that. Our strategies are super powerful, plain and simple. So yeah, come and test us out. All right, so question from Karen Ariella, you ready? What if no characteristic is dominant? So you took the quizzes and everything came out the same.
Ooh, interesting. Yeah, and so that can happen. I think that just tells you that you need to kind of understand a little bit more about what you do and what interests you. Something I tell people all the time inside Work It Daily is, what kinds of projects do you find yourself getting excited about? And what do you love doing? And what do people come to you for advice on? That can help you kind of get that clearer on what your strengths are, your specialty is, because if it's kind of all the same, then you need to kind of do a little more exploring in terms of, maybe I just don't know what it is yet. What do you think, JT?
No, I totally agree with you. And see, this is why you need a coach, because you cannot do this alone, folks. You need a sounding board. You need to be able to say these things, and the coach can ask you these questions. This is what a coach does. They ask you very pointed questions to make you think of answers that change your brain. This is exactly what coaching is. So that's what I would do. You want to come in and start to narrow in and go, well, okay, maybe if all things equal, but I enjoy these projects, well, then I guess my strength is a builder or I'm a researcher. We can help you figure that out. That's what you need to do. All right, this one is a great comment from Ellen. Ellen says, this is really great, but I'm feeling overwhelmed. I understand it all very well, but now I'm stressed about implementing it. Okay, so we needed to share all this information with you to understand the overall process, Ellen. But Ariella and I and the rest of the team are here to tell you that's exactly why we built Work It Daily. You come in and you do one step at a time, my friend. So career coach, you'll message your coach and say, here's where I'm at, here's my story. And the coach will say, okay, we want you to start here. Don't worry that there's 15 courses in here. Don't worry that there's all this stuff to do. You're going to do step one. In fact, our number one course is called the Job Search Plan. And the reason for that is you do chapter 1, 2, 3, and each time there's some homework. You complete it, you send it to the coaches. They go, great, keep moving, so that you feel like you've got blinders on, like you have sense of control. This is what job seekers need right now, because when you're not landing a job right out of the blue, how do you know that you're even moving in the right direction? You know, because you're following a plan step by step by step. Some people will be able to take this checklist that we gave you today and run with it. Totally fine. Ellen, someone like you needs step by step by step, and we definitely have that, and I would encourage you to check us out because that'll take away that overwhelming feeling. Do you think so too, Ariella?
Absolutely. We're very focused on bite-sized activities. That's for Work It Daily, 10 minutes a day. Come in and get your career in gear. Like, it's very important to take it one step at a time, because it's a lot. It's overwhelming, especially at this point in the process, because you're doing a lot of self-discovery, which is intense. So you have to take it a step at a time. So very important.
Yeah, but we'll keep you on track. Joyce is asking us, what's the difference between the professional level and the executive level? You want to field that one?
Sure. So the professional level is essentially you've got access to the entire platform. You've got access to all of the courses, all of the trainings, and you have access to a team of coaches. I'm part of the professional level. Then you also have these networking sessions that we're actually adding in. In the executive level, you've got access to JT and our executive coaching team. You've got special executive office hours that you can go and network with high-level executives. You've got access to all the other courses and trainings that we have as well, but you have more specialized in-depth help. So, there's some differences. It's more about like the depth of your, goal, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
Absolutely. Yeah, and on the executive side, I lead the executive team of coaches. Again, all the access to the platform, but I actually do weekly sessions. It's a weekly office hours with the executives where I'm on personally. And also we do an added benefit over there called content capsuling. So when you're an executive, you need to take your branding to the next level. There's a higher expectation, meaning you're comfortable presenting, being on camera, for example. You'd be comfortable being interviewed on something like a podcast. And you're also comfortable writing and sharing your expertise, right? right? So when our members join the executive program, we give them access to be able to do that on the Work It Daily platform. We guide them on that. So they're able to be part of something called Executive Insiders, which is a whole content platform we've built so that they can brand themselves. And again, these are tools, additional tools that executives need when they're going after those higher profile positions, and they have to have what's called executive presence. So that's why that plan is more expensive. All right, we have one more question, then we have to wrap it up. It's from Ellen. She said, I just turned down a job I would have liked because it was a $32,000 pay cut. Am I in denial that I can do better? Should I have taken it just to get a job? So, Ellen, this is a great question, and there's no simple answer to this because we don't know enough about you, right? We need to know where you live, what industry you're in, how much opportunity we think is in the industry. We need to take a look at that job and what the benefits and perks were, and did that offset to a degree the financial aspect? And then we also have to ask yourself, how long does it take you to get another job based on the current requirements? So if you were working with our coaches, we would be looking at all of those factors to help you make a decision. Now, that being said, I just need to tell you all, as coaches, we're ethically obligated to never say to you, don't take a job, right? Because that would just not be good advice. Only you can decide to turn down a job. But we can walk you through all the pros and all the cons so that you yourself can make that informed decision. But that's such a beautiful example of someone that needs to sit with a coach and go through everything in order to be at peace with their decision, so they're not sitting and wondering, did I make the right decision or not? That's the one thing we really pride ourselves on in Work It Daily. So, all right, I can't believe we're an hour gone. This is so amazing. Folks, thank you for your participation today. We love what we do. Hopefully that came through loud and clear. We care deeply about all of you right now. We are prepared for this. We know what you're going through, and we do want to help you. So whether you follow us on Work It Daily on our blog or download our free resources, you follow us on YouTube or social media, just know that we love you and we care about you. Stay safe and stay healthy. And of course, if you want to join us, we want you in the Work It Daily family, because as we always say, if you want to win, you got to work it daily. So please check out the discount pricing. It's only good for 3 days, but I just want to tell you, we want you in the family. Right, Ariella? You want to close it out?
Absolutely. Definitely come join us, see what we're all about. It's an amazing, supportive community inside Work It Daily, and I love it. I love being a part of it. So it's wonderful. Definitely check it out.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Take care. Be safe.